Hi, and welcome to my channel. I'm Marva Jean with Marva Jean's Vintage, and I'm here today to teach you how to flip furniture for under $10 just to get started. But there's some things that I'd like to talk to you about before I get started, and one of those things is why you clicked on this video. You clicked on this video to learn something, and hopefully I'm going to teach you something today. And that's my purpose for being here, is to educate, to inspire, and empower you to move forward in what you'd like to do. And not only that, if you're not interested in flipping furniture for a business, whatever it is, to just start doing that. I'm here, and this is my first video, so be patient with me. This will be unedited and raw. So all that being said, have grace with me. I appreciate that. And let's move forward. What I'm going to teach you today is what I've learned, and I've learned this through mentors on YouTube. And so I want to teach you what I've learned personally and from those mentors to help you move forward and what you're passionate about. But today, let's talk simply about starting a furniture flipping business. So the number one thing is, where do I get these pieces to start? And the number one place to start is with what you have already. You already have probably something in your home that you're tired of or you're not using anymore, and you just like to do something different with it or get rid of it. That's simply how I started. I purchased a hutch because I moved to here in Missouri, and all my furniture did not match the house that I bought. So I wanted to go farmhouse style. And so I bought a hutch and a table, and I redid that hutch and fell in love with it. And so that's why I started doing this as a hobby. I've always had a little side gig going on, and so this is what I'm doing at the moment. So let's get started. First of all, look at what you have in your home. The second place to look is on Facebook Marketplace in your area, and you may even find some free items if you look long enough and frequently enough. Now the key to that is being the first to see that, because there are other people out there doing this, and so they're going to go out there and they're going to get those pieces. So if you can be first and you can be quick, you can get those. Another way to do that is drive around town. Sometimes people just leave things at the curb. I got a curio shelf the other day. Now the shelf was unrepairable, not in good condition, but the spindles on it were great. And so what I plan to do with those is take those apart, cut them up, and make Christmas ornaments out of them. So there's just tons of things that you can do, and the more you do this, the more you will learn and the more ideas you'll have. Okay, so that being said, you can also look on Craigslist, whatever is going good in your area. You can look at OfferUp. There's all kinds of apps out there for people selling their items. Now the key in having any business is buying low and selling high. So you don't want to pay the price that a lot of them are asking. Some of them are really cheap, and so your goal is to at least triple your money when you're flipping any piece of furniture. The second thing you need a vehicle to pick these things up. Now if you don't have a truck or a trailer or something like that, and you only have a car, start small. Pick up end tables. Start with bookshelves, those kinds of things, just small items that you can flip and move on into the other part. So, okay, and the third thing you need is paint and supplies. So today I'm going to teach you how to make your own paint, and this is where the $10 comes in, because you may have some of these items already in your home and you may not. If you don't, the items to purchase are under $10, and I'm going to show you what you need. First, you're going to need plaster Paris. Okay, this is the key to making this paint. and we're gonna make chalk paint today. And the reason we're making chalk paint is because it sticks to anything. And I'm gonna show you that in a little bit. But you're gonna need plaster of Paris. You can purchase that at your local hardware store. You can try Hobby Lobby, those kinds of places, but what I've found in my personal experience with that is that they had plaster of Paris, but the plaster of Paris had additives that made it harder, and that you don't want that. You want pure plaster of Paris only. So I've got this at my local hardware store. It was a little over $5, okay? And then secondly, you're gonna need some kind of paint. You're gonna need latex paint. Do not use oil-based paint. That will not work. So you want a latex-based paint, preferably a flat or a satin finish. I purchased this at Lowe's for $12.98. However, when I was there, they had small sample 8-ounce containers for $1.25. So you can't beat that. So you've got $5 in your plaster of Paris. You get one of those sample jars for $1.25. And then thirdly, you're gonna need a paintbrush. This came simply from the Dollar Tree. Sometimes they have them, you can get larger ones, smaller ones, but sometimes they have them in 3 packs for $1. I mean, you can't beat that, okay? So what I'm gonna do, what I have here, I have 1 cup of paint, and I'm gonna list this recipe below so you can reference it anytime you like. And this is what I found in my experience that has worked best. I have 1 cup of paint in here. I have 1/3 cup of water. And I have 1/3 cup of plaster of Paris. Let me move this aside. What I'm gonna do here is I'm simply gonna mix the plaster of Paris into the water. And let me get a spoon here and stir that up. So you want to stir that very well, no lumps, and it emulsifies very quickly and very good. So this not only adds to your paint, it adds the chalk to your paint, but it extends the paint, so you get more than a cup. See? Okay. So I don't want to get paint on my spoon. So what I'm going to do is take the brush and I'm simply going to stir this in. At the same time, I'm getting my brush good and saturated here for the project. Now the project I have, and I'm doing this simply because this is the project that I'm working on right now. It's close to Thanksgiving, so I have some pieces out of my barn that I needed to get done. This particular piece is part of a table and chair set that I had. I paid $30 for the set, and someone had already started upcycling or recycling and decided it wasn't for them. So that's why I got it so cheap. There was absolutely nothing wrong with the piece. It had a leaf in the table, so it could actually seat more than 4, but there were only 4 chairs that came with it. This person, it looks like there's no brush marks on it, so it looks like they have spray painted this high gloss black paint. And typically you would not need to do this, but because she has put this high gloss paint, I'm simply going to take a sheet of sandpaper, and I'm not going to do much to this. All I'm going to do is rough the surface up so that my chalk paint sticks to that. Now, if it were not high gloss, I would not be doing that. The beauty of chalk paint is there's no sanding required, but when you have a piece that has this high gloss on it, you want to scrub it up just a tad, just to make sure it all sticks. Okay, so let's move this out of the way here. Now, if price is not an object for you, this is something that I use and have used. It is excellent. It is a non-toxic, 9-ingredient paint. It's called DIY paint. It's by Debbie's Design Diary, and you can look her up on the web. You can purchase from her. I purchased from Jamie Ray Vintage because I started watching her first, and she's one of my mentors, and so I purchased from her. This paint, although this is only 8 ounces, typically the paint is so pigmented, it's a clay-based paint, that you will get one coat coverage a lot of times with the darker colors. Now with the white, you're not going to ever do that with any paint. I haven't found that with any paint that I've used. So if price is not an object, you might want to choose this. Now when I'm doing larger pieces, I do go ahead and make my own paint simply to keep costs down, okay? So that's because that is your goal. You want to keep the cost down and maximize your profits, okay, if that's your goal. Now, if you're just doing this just to upcycle a piece in your home, which I did and started doing that, then that's fine. Let's do that. What I'm gonna do is take this chair and I'm gonna flip it like this because it's easier. Chairs are one of the most time-consuming and most difficult things to do, to paint. This person had some of those little tabs on the bottom that keep it from scratching your floor. Now, I may or may not add those back. It just depends. Let me throw that in the trash there. There we go. Okay, so I've got those off. I've dusted this, I've sanded a little, scruffed it up a little bit. Let's see, let's do the underside here just a little bit, just to make sure. Because typically the rungs of the chair, that's where kids are gonna put their feet. It's gonna get a lot of wear and tear, okay? So, here we go. We'll dust that off. Now, this next step is a pro tip I'm gonna give you. Now, let's go back to the paint. I wanna tell you about this. Most people that have given recipes for chalk paint out there say use it immediately. Well, I have found in my experience that's not necessarily the case. What you can do is make sure you have a lid to your container. You can cap it off if it starts to get thick, because that's the purpose of the plaster of Paris. It will get thick. Add a little water, and that's simply it. And you can keep going, keep painting. You don't have to finish the project, which you're not going to anyway because there's dry time, okay? So this is the pro tip I want to give you. When you're doing pieces like this that are time consuming, this is a way to make it go quicker, make the project easier. So what I'm going to do is take a spray bottle. A mister is best, but if you only have just a spray bottle, and you can use an empty Windex bottle, anything you have around the house, just give it a light spray, okay? And what this is going to do is make that paint move quicker. It's going to make it go on faster. So I'm going to get most of the paint off my brush, because what you want to avoid is runs in your painting. And one of the things that will run, if anything's going to, is the rungs, because it's got all these little indentions. So I get most of the paint off and simply just go back and forth, and that paintbrush gets down into all those little cracks. And if you get most of the paint off, then you're going to be less likely to have those runs. So let me see if I can get over here where you can see a little bit better. I'm getting underneath here. I'm going to turn in and just go back and forth. You can do this fairly rapidly, especially when you give that a spray. Okay, going all the way around here. Let's get up under here. Okay. Now, I do not paint the bottoms of my chairs because that's not something someone's going to see. However, I do get up right to the tip of the bottom of the chair. And look how fast that's going on, okay? Right. And one thing I don't like to do is continue to dip my brush. So a lot of times I'll just dip my brush, get it good and wet, full of paint, and then kind of slush it all over and then smooth out my brush strokes, okay? So that's another tip. All right, so let's go here. Let me see if I can get around here so you can see this a little bit better. Okay. So there you have it. In less than 2 minutes, we've got this chair started. Now, I'm not going to do the whole chair while we're on here. That would be fairly boring for you to see. But you get the gist of it. So, if you're doing, just starting out and you're doing something small, say an end table, these techniques will work for that as well. And if you notice, I'm using white paint. I'm using white paint because white sells. Now, one of the things I did with my hutch is I did a different color on the top of it. So it gave it a little contrast, and it was gray. That particular color combination is very popular right now. So I've enjoyed that hutch for over a year now. And I just listed it on Facebook Marketplace. And I actually have somebody interested in coming to pick it up today. I purchased it for approximately $75. Now, that's a little high in my opinion. However, I didn't purchase that with the intent of reselling. I purchased that. I purchased the table, 5 chairs, and the hutch for $225 for everything. Now, I will be keeping the table. I need that table. So, but I don't necessarily need the hutch anymore, so I'm thinking about doing another piece that I would enjoy. But you get the gist of this. This is, it's fairly easy. Now, once this is dry, I'm definitely gonna need to do a second coat on this. Once I do that, then we'll talk about, in my next video, I'll teach you how to seal. You'll need to get some wax and seal it if you're doing the chalk paint or polyurethane, something like that. But we'll talk about that in an upcoming video. So you see how quickly this goes. It's really a quick process, and it's cathartic for me. It's therapy. I love it. But I'll continue to finish this chair up, let it dry. You want to give probably at least 2-hour dry time when you're doing a piece, because if you go back over the piece while the paint is wet, you will reactivate that paint and it will begin to lift off, and you don't want that. That's just going to make for a really bad finish. And your goal here is to get a beautiful finish, something that someone would want to purchase or that you would want to keep. In upcoming videos, I'll teach you what I do mostly is farmhouse style. And I like to distress my pieces. It just gives them interest. It adds a dimension to it that you cannot get otherwise. And it allows you to not have to complete a perfect piece. So, get through here. So, got that one rung done. And that's it. It's just that simple. When you're doing, say you started with an end table, you can do the bottom one color, the top another color if you choose, or all one color and simply distress. Okay, well, I hope you've learned something today, and thanks for watching today. I hope I've given you some education. I hope I've inspired you to just start doing whatever it is you want to do. Nothing gets done if you don't do something. So I'm not perfect, definitely not, but I'm here doing something. So thank you for watching, and I hope you tune in again. Bye-bye now.